Last fall, I had the opportunity to record and produce my album Away From Home, which you've been hearing me promote for weeks now on this show. This was an incredible project to be working on because all the songs and stories were very personal to me, and I had this vision for the album since freshman year. Besides that, by the time I reached senior year, I felt I was in a new transition period. I was no longer in that same quote-unquote phase as I was freshman through junior year. I felt like I had one foot out the door already and was beginning the next steps towards my postgraduate life. Mind you, this was before COVID, so I was a little bright-eyed optimist who had no idea about the slap to the face that the entire world was about to get. But I will still say that it marked a new phase in my life. So as I was moving forward, getting to work on that album was, in a sense, closing the door to that chapter in my life. One of the things that made this album so great was the collaboration on it. Everyone I had featured on the album, I had worked with to some degree prior, but this was the culmination of it all, bringing everyone together. Call it my endgame, would you? Kevin Bennett and Tia Malai did the percussion on the album. Both of them had unique styles I wanted to tap into, and I took advantage of their strengths for various songs. Then I had Robert Friedman on bass. I met Robert on a star day at Stroh's, and from then on, he was always one of the first people that I would go to hit up if I needed a bassist. He helped me with an audition freshman year, and I could tell that he just got everything I was looking for. Same with Kevin. He and I worked very early on, and he too just picked up the vibes I wanted and ran with it. Tia I got to know more from my roommate Victor and his band Caribbean Crisis. I brought in Aiden Sloppy for lead guitar. Aiden was someone I had the pleasure to work closely with over the years, and I knew that he had the chops and influences I wanted brought into the project. Zach Allen came in on trumpet for a couple songs. Zach and I really bonded through the audio crew at school, and we co-wrote and collaborated over the years, so I was really happy to get him on. Nick Rivera came on for a song that we wrote together, and he lended great guitar work for Long Way Home. As for additional singers, I had one of my best friends, Maddie Hempstead, my then vocal instructor, Kelly Bird, my then girlfriend, Emily Musarulis, and I even brought in the co-ed a cappella group on campus, the Golden Notes, to sing harmonies. Everyone's voices meshed so beautifully in the final product, and listening back, I regret not having more harmonies. I can't talk about musicians on this album without talking about Alex Hittrick. Alex played all the piano for the album, did some guitar work, and sang harmonies. Alex and I got together for a record production project of mine sophomore year, recording an early version of We Can Dance, and we just clicked. From then on, I called in Alex for just about anything. And over the years, we had gone to each other for musical advice, collaboration, and support. Honestly, one of the best partnerships I could have formed in college. On the engineering side of things, I had Zach Hess and Brian Dono. Brian asked me from the beginning of the process if he could shadow me so he knew what he was doing by the time his project rolled around. Frankly, Brian knew what he was doing around the studio and was a huge help getting things set up, patched, and whatnot. It was much more beyond shadowing, and he was a key facet to making things run as smoothly as they did. And Zach, another great friend, really came in clutch with much of the miking techniques, recording, and more. He lent a great hand in the technical side of things, and I am forever grateful. He was great to run ideas off of, and we could just go on forever on how we wanted to put this together. And I cannot forget to mention audio technical director, boss, and mentor, Sean Wendell, who helped keep me in check the entire process. So how does any of that relate to today's episode? It's all about the collaboration. It's all about the trust that I had in all of these people. At one time or another, I had seen these people at work, and we had all proved that we worked well together. I knew that I could not achieve a lot of the sounds that I wanted myself, but I knew that these musicians could. Where I was ignorant and inexperienced, I brought in people who I knew had the style and chops needed to reach my vision. And you know what? We hit it, and then some. They all blew me away with what they had to contribute, and that is because I kept things a welcoming environment for all ideas. I would direct them on what my vision was, and then let them run with it. And through that trust and direction came something I am so incredibly proud of. They were able to get the thoughts in my head out into reality and contributed pieces of themselves. And we are going to hear a lot about that kind of style today. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Walsh Wednesday, the Reflective Series. Today, I get to talk to filmmaker Micah Khan about his directorial styles and how he created his film, Meetcute on Danceworld, along with producing Devour, a short film by Victoria Diana, and other projects. Micah and I heavily talk about the process of bringing on the right people, the trust that is forged, and debunking myths about directing. All of that after this short break. Away From Home is out on all streaming platforms for you to enjoy. As I said earlier in this episode, this was a communal work that brought out the best from myself and the people I worked with. Just as this took a village, I hope you decide to bring this album into your home and community this holiday season. Illustrating my first 3 years of college, I dive into stories of love and loss, desperation and inspiration, and my journey towards maturity. If you like what we have going on here at Walsh Wednesday, want to support the music, or anything like that, please consider subscribing to my Patreon page. The lowest tier of patronage starts at $3. There you can find full interviews with my guests, and I plan on doing more behind-the-scenes looks at songs and other projects. I appreciate the support, and remember to keep supporting the talent in your life. Today's guest is director, writer, producer, Micah Khan. Micah and I originally met when we were working for Troy Savings Bank Music Hall. It's been so incredible to hear about his achievements over the years. His latest release, Meetcute on Danceworld, is a unique take on language and interaction. It is a fresh new concept that is definitely worth a watch. Co-creator of HBO's Game of Thrones, David Benioff, says about Meetcute on Danceworld, "Never seen anything quite like it before. I was smiling the whole way through. It's fresh, original, and it kicks ass." Rain Roberts, Vice President Development at Lucasfilm, says, "Very innovative storytelling and camera work." Mark Guggenheim, the showrunner of DC's Legends of Tomorrow and Arrow, says, "Great fun. I was blown away by the cinematography. The concept is very inventive and clever, and the camera work was next level." And director, actor, activist Ben Stiller says, "I really enjoyed this film." Before we get into the film, I wanted to get into some of his background. After a little bit of research, I learned that filmmaking was not originally what he was shooting for. He was originally training to be a professional fighter. I'll let him get into that and how his experience in fighting helped develop his film work as well.
Yeah. Well, I've been doing martial arts my whole life. I was convinced all throughout my teens that I was going to be a cage fighter, that I wanted to fight in the UFC. And then when I hit 19, I broke my foot pretty bad. When you're a 19-year-old thinking he's going to be a cage fighter, you think you're a little too tough, and you're like, I'm not going to do physical therapy, and now I can't run. So that's fun. It worked out, though. I mean, it worked out in the sense that, like, I kind of came to filmmaking through that. After I broke my foot, I was like, what do I really want to do with my life? And then I was like, I want to be a comedian, because I was already doing comedy. I was, running all the shows at my high school and stuff like that, doing hosting events and stuff like that. So I was and I was doing open mics here and there as a teenager. And then I was like, maybe I want to be an actor. So I tried acting. I moved down to New York City for a while and tried the whole acting thing, and didn't really like it until I started seeing how movies are made behind the scenes. And I was like, I kind of want to do this. It sounds like more fun. Sounds like more problem solving, And so I kind of committed to learning as much as I could about filmmaking. So I moved back up to Albany. I went to school in East Greenbush. So I moved back up here, and I was like, you know what? I went to the New School Center for Media now. They teach you basically everything you need to know about editing, sound design, special effects, whatever stuff that you really like, lighting and stuff like that. So I was like, all right, I'll go there. I learned as much as I could, and everything after that has been me learning everything on my own. So then I started making some action movies here and there, and I didn't realize how easily those things that I learned when I was a teenager would translate into film. And especially because as soon as you learn how to combine stunt work and the training you already have, you can make it work. I mean, like a lot of the actors I worked on with my short film Safe House, which I made like 2 or 3 years ago now, they didn't really have much fight experience. So they were like, we faked it all. And a lot of people can't tell that they don't know how to fight, which is great, which is good for me. I realize that I can teach people how to do 2 or 3 moves to make them look like they're right at a time. And so, yeah, it kind of like chopped up my editing style, but I made it work, which is great because Safe House went on to win Robert Rodriguez's People's Network Showcase contest and played on El Rey Network and stuff. So that was a really big win for that short film. And for this area, put Troy on TV. That was kind of cool.
That all kind of ties into this concept that I've been really driving into on the show, which is you don't know what experiences in your past will come around to influence your future. Another aspect of Micah's background came into play when it came to conceptualizing Meetcute on Danceworld.
I mean, that's definitely like what happened with Meetcute. I was sitting there trying to figure out what do I want to do next? I want to do another action movie. I tried to put together like a short like action scene right after Safe House, and I was like, yeah, I can do it. And I can do it with actors who don't know how to fight, which is great. But like, do I want to do another action movie? At the time I was talking to my girlfriend, and she was like, well, I was like kind of pitching ideas, and I was like, what if I do like something with dance? Because I was like a big Bollywood movie fan because I grew up watching them. If your viewers can't see, I'm very brown. So I grew up watching them, and I was like, you know what? I want to do something with dance. And then my girlfriend said, well, whatever you do, you have to do it with dialogue. And I'm like, well, what if the dance is the dialogue? And literally, like out of that stupid joke, I was like, but wait. And that's where Meetcute started. I literally wrote it down in my notebook. So I was like, I wrote it down. It was like, Meetcute on Danceworld. Dance is the dialogue.
Micah was fortunate enough to be able to squeeze in the filming of this movie right before the COVID shutdown.
Feels like it was last year is the reason why I'm saying it. When I talk to my friends who made it, they're like, man, last year was fun. We did Meetcute. I'm like, that was January.
That was still this year.
That was still this year and this year.
Anything before March is not
was
part
last,
of 2020.
It's now last year.
Yeah. Yeah, no, because March was really, that was this year. Then on, that's kind of what it's been.
Right. Yeah, it's had a weird life, COVID kind of like changed the filmscape and the film festival scape a lot. I was expecting the short film to really take off, and it did for the most part. Like, I wouldn't say it went viral by any means, but like people loved it. The real thing that sucked was like film festivals. Either they went online or they went online and they slashed their programming. It's tough to get into, I submitted to a lot of film festivals thinking that they would like see it and go, wow, this is fresh and original. And they just like, yeah, we don't know how to program it. I'm like, oh, okay. So recently Adirondack Film Festival played it, which I love that film festival. If you guys haven't submitted there, or, hopefully COVID's over by next year. If you have a short film, submit it there, because it's literally, in my opinion, a magic film festival. Jess Lewandowski, the film programmer, is awesome. They played it in their experimental block, and it kind of hit me. I'm like, maybe I'll get into more festivals if I do it as experimental, because it doesn't really fit in any box. And that's the problem, is like when you make a film, like people think, oh, if I make the most original movie possible, they can't help but accept it. And then I've learned that no, they won't know how to program it, because they'll have to program it with films that they like to film stuff with things that are similar or in the same genre. And when you don't fit into those boxes, they don't know how to put you in their film festival, which is so weird to think about. Like the next 3 film festivals that I've submitted to, I'm hoping they tend to accept really weird original stuff. So I'm hoping that, I'm like, fingers crossed, they're like, we like this movie, let's go forward with it. And if not, then I'm just gonna cry. But I mean, I can't complain. Like, that's the thing, is like, I really want the film festival accolades, because there's a lot of film programs out there, right? There's tons of film programs. There's like, and everyone's like, why don't you apply for these diversity programs? Why don't you apply for these? But if you read the rules, it says you must get into one of these festivals, and it's usually one of the top tier festivals. So if you're not getting into those, you're not getting into them unless you know somebody who runs the program. or you're recommended by somebody to do it, like you're not going to get in. You're trying your hardest to get into any one of those festivals just so you can finally start applying to like the Fox Diversity Program or the NBC one, or I really want to do the Warner Brothers one, but you can't do any of them until you get into one of these bigger tier festivals. It's all subjective, and if they don't like it, it's like it's ruining the rest of your plans for the year. The film industry loves to posture and say, "Where's the new talent?" And then they're the ones gatekeeping. It's like, it's funny because like now you see there's this weird trend. They're like, they want more diverse talent, right? But they won't go and find new talent. They'll find people like they'll find actors they want to work with that are diverse and give them a budget because at least they know them. It's a weird club, man. Lately this year I decided, like I'm tired. I'm kind of tired of playing that game. So like I've been trying to like go out and do my own stuff now, and like my style of filmmaking has always been a disrupting style of filmmaking. I've always been the kind of guy that's like, I'm just gonna go out, I'm gonna do it as safely as possible, but I'm gonna do it. I've never been somebody who's like, I need you to jump the train tracks to get this shot. And I'm like, if I won't do it, I don't make people do it. That's just how I feel about it. I remember Jamal, my lead in Meetcute, was like, he's like, I can do a backflip. You want me to do a backflip? I'm like, I want you to do a backflip because I can't do a backflip. You can't do it. He's like, I promise I can do it. And he did one. He's like, I got one more in me. And Jamal, if you guys don't recognize him, he's Cher's dance captain. So if you've ever seen a Cher show, you've seen him on stage.
That is so cool.
Yeah, he's super. He's one of my favorite people. I met him in line for a show 5 years ago, and we stayed friends.
You met him in line for a show? Like you guys were just waiting to go into a show?
Correct.
You met him just by coincidence?
Just by we were early. I was the second person in line. He was the third.
Oh my gosh!
So we just talked the whole time, and we just stayed friends. And when I did Meetcute, I was like, "Is this guy I really want to work with? I don't know if he would do it, but like he's an amazing dancer." So I like sent it to him, and I'm like, maybe he'll do it. And he was like, all right, I'm going to do it because I like Safe House. And so he didn't get it. He didn't he just told me the other day, like he didn't get the film. He just did it because he liked Safe House.
Oh.
And so he's like, I didn't get it until he didn't fully understand it until it was finished. And he's like, I love this film.
There you go.
And I feel like that's how everybody felt, though. I felt like everyone's like, I don't get this movie. Like, even my producer at the time, my producer, John, was just like, I'm only producing this because my wife's in it. And his wife plays the lead in it because she's a really, really talented dancer. So I was like, I wanted to ask her to be in it. And so he's like, I'm only producing this because my wife's in it. And then at the end of it, he was like, all right, I get it. It's a hit. Meetcute's it's in a weird world right now where it's like, technically did a lot of good things. It got a lot of eyes on me, got a lot of eyes on the film. I got really lucky because how many people retweeted it, the fact that Lucasfilms watched it and they really liked it. Literally, people watch Meetcute on Danceworld and they go, I don't know how you made this movie. And like how it moves is completely different from any other movie. And I'm really proud of that because I'm starting to figure out how I like to move in a movie. My camera, that is.
Yeah.
One of my trophies now is an email from Kathleen Kennedy. So when I tell people I have an email from the person who produced Raiders of the Lost Ark or Jurassic Park, they're like, wow, that's crazy. And then, Ben Stiller tweeted it, which was like one of my favorite wins because actually he's one of my favorite filmmakers and not other people know he directs a lot of the movies he's in. And Mark Guggenheim, the showrunner of Era, which I was a really big fan of for a long time. I'm a big fan of those CW superhero shows. They're fun. That's really what it comes down to.
I was a big Arrow and Flash fan for a long time.
Yeah.
And then college ruined my schedule.
I don't have cable anymore, so I can't even watch them. So it's not even, yeah.
Yeah, I was really big into them in high school. And then I tried to stay up on it in college, but I was working 3 jobs plus my classes. It was very hard to keep up.
It's so much easier when you can to keep up with that kind of stuff when you have a set schedule, I guess.
Yeah.
Which I don't. I just live in an erratic world where I'm always trying to work as hard as possible and never give myself a break. So I'm trying to learn. Hopefully, in this next year, my New Year's resolution is going to be giving myself a break. Definitely. Then again, I took a depression break in the beginning of COVID, so that was fun. I just stared at the ceiling for 3 months.
To be honest, we all kind of needed that time. The way that everything was moving, myself and many of the people that I noticed around me when March was coming through, everybody was so burnt out. Like it was amazing how much everything was running at such a
Right.
high speed.
Yeah,
Everybody was going so hard. For some reason, it was like it was reaching a climax, and COVID ended up being that climax.
right.
Just it all dropping.
It's funny you feel that way, because like I feel the same way. I'm like, I mean, I definitely feel like I was trying so hard at so many different places to try to do anything I could. I was really excited because I thought I was going to make some progress, and like I was supposed to be shadowing a director on a TV show. I did. It took a while, but it made you realize like how much like you're ignoring yourself, your family, your friends. I hope that life doesn't pick up to that steam, that speed level again. I hope that people just try to like live a little. Like, I mean, it's been very introspective and a very introspective time, and I definitely have some very toxic work ethic things where I'm just like I have to keep working at all times. I remember my goal like going into this year was to read 20 books, and I don't think I've read one. Maybe? Actually, no, that's not true. I did read a couple. I just can't remember what they were. I'm reading The Shining right now, and that is like any kind of Stephen King book is just like there's so many pages. It's like I feel like I've been reading this book for like 2 months now.
Well, you've also been busy too, so it's not like you're able to sit down and just like crank it out.
Yeah, I gotta keep reminding myself of that. Like I gotta keep reminding myself like, oh, like it's funny because like people are like, oh, like you just like I just produced this short film for my girlfriend, and we had a decent budget for it, which she won a short film grant for it. Yeah, we were going so hard on that, and like we were writing. Her and I are writing. We wrote a TV pilot for this company in Texas. And like we're doing so much at the same time, and I'm just sitting here like I didn't finish this book.
That's the thing you're focusing on.
Yeah, it's like that's the one goal. I'm like, wow, I'm still at page 400.
I think you're doing pretty all right for yourself. If it's just the book that you're feeling that way about, that's not bad.
Right. And now that I think about it, like my friend Patrick and I wrote a feature film in that time too. So like,
oh my gosh, yeah,
it's like we did so much. I think I'm actually sitting back and thinking about it, I'm like, oh wait, we did do a lot, huh?
Well, this is Walsh Wednesday, the reflective series.
Yeah. Very good reflections. I'm going to do this every week. You want to be my therapist too?
Yeah, no, sounds good. Yeah, no, I will just keep coming on this time every week.
This all started when I was 11.
No, I said in the very first episode of this podcast that this is my therapy too. So, I'm glad that we're kind of like working it all out. That's good. You mentioned your girlfriend's short film Devour, and I want to get into that in a second. But I want to ask this about Meetcute. As you said, you had all these phenomenal dancers. You had all this come together. When I was watching it, the thing that I wanted to know was how the heck you managed to choreograph that and get the music for that. The music was written by Brian Chapinelli, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I know B-Chap, St. Rose. Yep.
Brian and I went to high school together.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He was a year younger than me, but we ended up becoming really good friends. And so I know his whole family. And so like when I was like going out, I hate to say this, but we went out to a different composer who's like a very traditional film composer. And he came back with something that I did not like. I was like, I want something more like hip hop ish. And he's like, I'm not hip hop. And so I was like, I got to go with someone else. I've been wanting to work with Brian for so long, but I was like, is he going to want to do this? It's not like a song or something like that. Like we'd been on and off about talking about doing a music video. And so I was like, whatever, I'll just reach out to him and see what he says. And if he says no, it's not a big deal. But he was like so gung-ho about it and came up with this amazing score for it that I really feel like fit the vibe perfectly. Yeah, I love it. I mean, I'm excited to do the feature. And if he, I'm writing a Meetcute on Danceworld feature right now.
Oh wow, that's okay.
And so if we, things go as well as we wanted to, then maybe Brian will come on and do the composing for that feature as well. And then the choreography wise, that was all Laura, the lead actress in it. So Laura and I, when we first initially met, I talked to her about the dance language. And so she came back to me and she constructed the dance language on her own. She's just like, this is what this means. This is what this means. And I'm like, perfect. Like, the only things that I really brought to that was like, I want something bigger here in movement or something smaller here in movement. And the choreography, this is the thing, is like when you cast well and you crew well, Laura came in and she's like, I know what to do here. Figured it out so quickly. And so that all that choreography, I just trusted her with it. And she like, I don't know how she did it, but she got exactly what I wanted in my mind. So I'm really happy about it.
Mind reader.
But that's all Laura. Like, Laura choreographed the whole damn thing.
That was the thing that was running through my head the whole time I was watching this. It was like, my gosh, the music is so well done.
Right.
The choreography is so well done. And as you said earlier, the way that you moved with your camera, the way that you panned, the way that you were able to take in everything, you were able to really get every little visual cue that the actors were giving off. And I found that so impressive. And like, I'm also like trying to look at the space that you have too. Like,
yeah.
You probably didn't have much room to move.
No, we did not. And that's part of it. Like, you know, like, it's how do you figure out how to make a movie in that space is part of the challenge that I like. There's a lot of things in Meetcute, like the movement in it, the camera movement has been years of like these past, when I started making films, it was 2014. It's 6 years of figuring out how I like to move in a scene. It's figuring out how to do it, how I like it, what makes me feel excited when I watch it. If this was my first short film, it would have been terrible, you know, like it would not be what it is right now. But since it's like my 37th, I made a lot of short films. It's really an accumulation of all the mistakes I made and put together, and all the things that I love that I realize that I do put together. If you look at the background, there's a B story going on. I don't know if you got a chance to see it, but the character in the beginning that Grady Dixon plays, who's dancing in front of Fabricio, he's in the background in his own story.
Yes, I noticed. Like every time, like every time you'd see him in the background, something was going on.
He's. I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but he's slowly like getting back on his feet and like and like doing his thing, you know.
I noticed that every once in a while I'd see him in the background and I was like, that guy's still all right. As I said, I don't want to spoil too much about it, but I did catch that. And it's kind of like the Where's Waldo kind of thing of it. But that just shows the cohesiveness of the world that you created in this film. It's subtle, but just the fact that it's there and it's not like certain things dropped out. No, every part of it was cohesive and fully in it.
I got to give credit where it is like that whole B story that's happening in the background, we came up with on the day that Grady showed up. Because Grady was, one, I didn't know this about him. He was a really good actor. I know he's a good comedian. He's a local comedian. He's a really good actor. Second, I think it was either my producer or I think my cinematographer who was just like, if we do this move, he's on the floor, right? And I'm like, yes, he is on the floor. And then I was like, throughout the story, I'm like, Grady, you got to be here for both days. And he's like, why? It's like, because I have a whole new thing I want to do. And I'm like really happy because everybody was on board for it. Every time we're in that direction where he's slowly, you know, doing his story that we know of. And then that last shot of the movie changed. We had a different shot plan, but because of that B story, we were like, we have to bring him back. And so that's why that last shot of the movie bookends the entire movie the way it does.
And this all emphasizes what I was trying to say about the collaboration and the trust with the people that you work with. Bringing in an old friend from high school to do the music, having Laura do the dancing because that's her world, having Grady have this B story while this is going on, amongst other things. This is that beautiful, crazy, lovely collaboration that I have been going on about.
That's that alchemy of like having people around you that know what they're doing and like listening to people on set. Like a lot of people think directing is I have to know every single answer before I get to set. And it's not, you know, it's really just about having the right collaborators around you. And as a director, you have the right to say no. You can say, hey, like, I don't want to do that. Okay, let's demystify the job of the director here. People think that directing is like this a big auteur vision where like you have to know every single answer to every question before people even think about it. And it's not that. The director's job is to keep the tone consistent through the entire film. That's what they're doing. Now, if they're writing the film, that's what makes them an auteur, like that auteur theory. Yeah, so your job is to keep the tone consistent, but your job is also to listen to the people you hire. You're hiring them because you don't know something, right? You don't know, like most people, like I'm lucky because I interned with a cinematographer after I was done with the new school. So like I know a lot about cinematography. So I know a lot about lens choices. I know a lot about lighting. And I also worked as a grip. So it's like I know a lot about lighting. So I'm very knowledgeable when I'm talking to my DP about what I'm looking for. But I don't know shit about production design. I don't know anything about choreography, dance choreography. So you listen to people and you come up with answers together. Like you don't have to know and that's the other tough part is you have to find the people that are willing to collaborate and don't want you to just have the answers. And that's where the state of play comes in and that's why Danceworld worked so damn well is because everybody wanted to play. Everybody wanted to be like, how can we our production designer, John Stegman, if you can't even see it, but there's signs in the place, like small signs everywhere, like that only the actors could see and the people in the place that are made of dance moves. Like there's an exit sign that he there's where the paintings are, where the artists' names are all in dance moves. Like there's only one time that I think the audience might see it is in the bar where he changed the Heineken sign to a dance Heineken sign. The fact that, and that was because my production designer was having so much fun with it. And I'm like, and he's like, can we do this? I'm like, do it. Like, have fun with it. And when you find people who are ready to play, who don't just want you to be the guy who's like, I want every answer for everything. I'm not that person. Like, I want to hear what people have to say. And if I don't think it works for the story, I'll say no. But if it does work for the story, I'll say yes. I'm like, let's figure out how to make that work. Because that's what it is like, if you adhere to this rigid structure of filmmaking, you get very, very rigid mechanical movies. So you get very rigid film styles that way. And that's okay if you're David Fincher. Like if you're Fincher, that's what he wants. He wants that very mechanical, very cold look. Or if you want to be Wes Anderson, that's very controlled camera moves, a very specific style of how he likes to do things. And that's great, but I'm not that person. And I don't want to I think that if you try to conform to one person's vision, you get very inorganic films. And I'm a big fan of Sidney Lumet, and I'm a big fan of like Kurosawa and my favorite filmmaker of all time. Nobody knows who he is, but he's very collaborative. Do you know who Genndy Tartakovsky is?
I've heard the name, but I could not tell you any films that he's done, but I have heard the name.
It's all right. He's never done any. Well, he has done films, but he's only done 3 films, I think. But he's mostly TV. He's an animator. He's my favorite director of all time. He did Dexter's Laboratory. He did Powerpuff Girls. He did. But my favorite show of his growing up was Samurai Jack.
There we go.
Yeah. Samurai Jack is my favorite all-time show. And he did a couple movies like the Hotel Transylvania movies. His style, like he was, is very collaborative with his artists, but he's got a very slow, very I don't really like the fast-paced filmmaking. I don't like slow burn stories, but I don't there's 2 different things. It's like there's the slow burn narrative, like it's like the like most westerns are slow burn, or I'm not a big fan of slow burn writing or thrillers. Usually in my movies, I like to start at the inciting incident. So I like to start right when the action starts and then figure it out and have people pick up the pieces from there. And then from there you can do whatever you want, I feel. But a lot of my movies feature films that I've written literally start at the clock, at the inciting incident where the movie. Do you know anything about screenplay structure? So your standard screenplay structure is the first 10 pages is your exposition, your setting, and stuff like that. You get to learn more about your character. But at page 15, there's this inciting incident that drives the story forward. It's or the invitation to an adventure. or like in Star Wars, it's when Luke is cleaning the droids and then Princess Leia pops out, like, oh, help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi, I need your help. And literally always at page 15 or minute 15 is like, you can't make this stuff up. It's a very classic film structure. And so like I like to start my movies like as quickly as possible, but then take my time telling it the rest of the time. Like that's who I've been for a long time. Like I'm like, maybe that's why people don't like my movies. Like film festivals don't like my movies because I'm like, for film festivals they tell short films to start your story right away, and I'm like, I started it, and now you're gonna listen to my characters.
Obviously, we go into projects with a certain vision, but when we listen to the voices of those around us, there's no limit to how far and how beautiful something can get.
I feel like the best art is when people come together and work together, not just go, I have this thing, you're gonna do it. When I went to Brian Chapinelli, the composer, like I just let him have fun with it the first time through, and now I was like, well, and then we literally talked it out for a few days. And I was at his apartment where I'm just like, well, what if we like what I'm trying to like, I'd like to hear this sound like here. It's like, can we try something like this? And we just played, and that was probably my favorite experience with a composer I've had, because he was just so fun to work with. And plus, I've known him since he was a kid. Like we were both high school kids, it's like, it's fun to like the idea of like we came back. Like it's again that weird story where like things come back, man. Like I've always known Chapinelli to be like the most talented musical person I know. So like when I knew he was doing hip hop, I'm like, I gotta ask him if he would do it.
Just another testament to how certain things can come full circle. Absolutely beautiful. Moving forward, I wanted to talk to him about the film that he was producing for his girlfriend, Devour, a short film by Victoria Diana. And I wanted to know what that process was like, because this was being done more in the heat of COVID.
So working on a film during COVID was interesting. I mean, the first thing we did was we all got tested. We had to make sure that we were all negative before we go in. And that was fine. I think that the hardest thing was wearing those KN95s all day long. We all looked like weird European plague doctors. It didn't really make for the best behind-the-scenes photos, but we hired a COVID compliance officer. And so she was basically in charge of making sure everybody was safe. And, we did a rapid test midway through to make sure everybody was still safe. It was really just like, it was movie making with the extra precaution, which, yes, it makes film sets are already, there's a varying level of uncomfortability because, there's a lot of stuff going on all the time, but adding to that, like the masks and stuff like that, and like the hand sanitizing, the hand washing, like reminding ourselves to wash our hands, reminding ourselves to drink water. Like I know some people we worked with are like, I'm never going to do it again until COVID's over. And me personally, I'm like, that wasn't that bad. Like let's go again. Let's do it one more time. Let's make another film. It was fun though. Like, the film, if I'm being honest with you, it came together so beautifully. So I'm really excited to see like what it looks like all together. Hopefully film festivals like it more than they like Meetcute on Danceworld.
Yeah.
You guys can, if people are curious about it, we have a Facebook page and we have a Instagram page where I've been posting stills and pictures that I took that are on the on a set where people are like, you can't see anybody's faces because we're all wearing masks. Yeah, I'll be posting updates where like if we get in, like, when and where, what film festivals are going to be at. Like, hopefully film festivals are back this coming year. I don't know if they will be, but they'll probably be playing online and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm really excited. Like the film looks like, if I'm being honest, it looks like a Hopper painting the whole time through. And
cool.
And I'm all about it. I'm all about that Hopper look. So he's my favorite artist. So I'm like, when I saw like some of the frames, I'm like, it looks like a Hopper. I'm just geeking out the whole time.
That's so cool. Congratulations to you. Congratulations to your girlfriend on that. That's really cool that things were able to come together in that degree. And I hope it continues to come together.
I'm hoping. I got a project that I'm working on right now. This might be a good segue for that. Yeah, I wrote a feature film with my friend Patrick. We wrote it very, very much in mind for being COVID safe as possible. So right now we're in the producing phase of trying to raise money for it. So if anybody on here has any money, let me know. Other than that, it's a cosmic horror feature film that we're trying to shoot in the area. It's about a person who inherits a rug from his dead father after he dies and finds a baby in it. There's an alternate dimension in the rug, I should mention.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
This is
I'm debating if I want to change the name of the movie to Under the Rug. It's called Down right now.
You got time to work on it, but regardless, the concept is very interesting.
It can be very frightening. I want to see it come together. My goal is to film it no matter what before the end of next year. So no matter what budget level we're at what I would like to do it at is anywhere from 250,000 to 500,000. But if I have to do it at 50, I will. I'll make it work regardless.
I'm glad that you have that determination and perseverance regardless. You got to have that in pretty much anything that you do, arts especially. So I'm really happy for you. I'm proud of you and all that. That is super cool.
Thanks, man.
Oh, yeah. Well, for those of you who don't know, Micah and I met at Troy Savings Bank Music Hall, where we both did work for them. And that's like our side hustles as we are trying desperately to make our real dreams come alive.
Right. And we've been unemployed since.
Yeah. But we've had the chance to work on other passion projects and see things come into fruition. So regardless of the unemployment, we got that going on. So no, I'm really super happy for you, man. Before we wrap this up, we talked about Meetcute, we talked about Devour, we talked about this new film that you're working on. Is there anything else that people should know about? And also, where should people find you? Where should people follow your stuff?
Oh my God. Well, follow me on Facebook or Twitter. I'm MK_plus ultra, or Instagram, I'm MK+ultra, all spelled out like the words. Anything people should know about me? I am pretty much an open book. I try to talk to as many people as possible. I try to stay in touch with everybody. It's tough. It's a hard goal. I fail at it a lot.
Don't we all?
I would say the only thing I have, if you're a filmmaker out there, it is infinitely more complicated than people try to tell you that it is. I know that schools try to tell you there's one way of doing things, and there's everyone says there's a certain way you do things, but it's not true. Take what works for you and leave what doesn't, and just be nice to people. Treat your crews with respect if people are working with you, and just overall just people with respect, man. It's tough. I get it. It's an industry where the worst of people comes out because everybody wants to pursue that fame and fortune, and they will step on anybody to get it. And there will be tons of misunderstandings in that world. Do it for the right reasons. Do it because you love it. And just remember that if people tell you to do something a certain way, it's not true. Find what works for you. Learn as much as you can. If you want to be a filmmaker, learn how to write scripts. You don't have to want to write scripts, but you got to learn how to do it, because that'll really teach you how to make a movie. And then when you write that script, film it. If you're a screenwriter, especially if you have not produced any of your own work, film it, because you will realize your dialogue is not as good as you think it is. I know you think it is right now. You're listening to this going, well, my dialogue is very good. Film it. It's not.
I hate sand. Of course, and it gets everywhere.
Oh boy, I wish that somebody had read that script out loud. I probably shouldn't say that, but
don't worry, I'll cut that piece.
I have a lot of. You don't have to. I have a lot of criticisms of the Star Wars universe. It's fine. I'm very critical of all the things I love. I try not to be blindly in love with anything. But yeah, man, I don't know. If anybody listening just wants to chat, if anyone, just tweet at me, follow me on Instagram, add me on Facebook.
All right. Micah, thank you so much for coming on. This has been really very insightful. I'm really happy and proud of all the projects that you've done and all that you got going on. And I'm super excited for whatever you got in the future. This is awesome.
Yeah, thank you so much, man. And thank you to everybody listening. And hopefully you guys have a safe drive or whatever you guys are doing. And get home safely. I love you. Bye.
Love it.
And cut. That's a wrap on this episode of Walsh Wednesday, the Reflective Series. Again, I have to thank Micah Khan for coming on and telling us this collaborative masterpiece that came together, and I'm telling you, check this out. So if you want to check out this film, check out the description for the link for you to go to check out Meetcute on Danceworld. Besides that, go follow him on social media and be sure to check out the upcoming film, Devour, a short film by Victoria Diana. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in and just making this so fun to do from my end. Thank you to everybody who has reached out and said wonderful things about the show, things along the lines of how it's inspired you or just certain aspects that you're really enjoying. So thank you so much for tuning in. Keep telling your friends about this. And hey, if you got a story that you want to get out on this program, let me know. Email me at conorwalshmusic.management@gmail.com. I can't wait to hear your story, and I can't wait to share all the other stories that we have in the can ready to produce for you guys. Again, as always, I'm Conor Walsh, and I'm so glad we get to spend some time.